The Mortar and Rocketeer are two very similar towers. They are both high damage splash attacking towers with huge range and relatively high cost. They also both received huge buffs, making them viable choices. Because of the similarity, it may be difficult to decide which tower you should use. In this video, I'll be explaining in detail which one is better and why. Before I continue, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to join the Blue Hair Mafia. It helps me out a lot and I really appreciate it. Let's start with the Rocketeer. It can be purchased from the shop for 2,500 coins. It's a ground unit that carries a missile launcher, firing rockets at the enemies. The rockets create explosions which deal splash damage to all enemies within the blast radius. It costs 2,500 cash to place. At level 0, it deals 25 splash damage, fires once every 5.008 seconds, has an explosion range of 5, a range of 22, and a total DPS of 4.99. The level 1 upgrade costs 300 cash. It reduces its fire rate to 4.008 seconds, increasing the Rocketeer's total DPS to 6.24. The level 2 upgrade costs 800 cash. The Rocketeer now deals 55 splash damage and has a range of 25. Its DPS is increased to 13.72. The level 3 upgrade costs 6,500 cash. The Rocketeer now deals 100 splash damage, fires once every 3.508 seconds, has an explosion range of 7, and a total DPS of 28.51. It also gains hidden detection. The level 4 upgrade costs 18,000 cash. The Rocketeer now deals 225 damage, has an explosion range of 8, a range of 28, and a total DPS of 64.14. The Rocketeer has some pretty good stats. I mean, compared to the old Rocketeer, it's almost unbelievable how much better it is now. Now, let's look at the Mortar. It can be obtained by reaching level 75 or spending 700 Robux. The Mortar is a cliff tower which fires explosive warheads. It has the highest explosion radius in the game and very high range. It costs 1,000 cash to place. At level 0, it deals 10 splash damage, fires once every 5.008 seconds, has an explosion range of 16, a range of 22, and a total DPS of 2. The level 1 upgrade costs 600 cash. The Mortar now fires every 4.508 seconds and has a range of 24. Its total DPS is now 2.22. The level 2 upgrade costs 1,300 cash. The Mortar now deals 20 splash damage, fires every 4.008 seconds, has an explosion range of 24, and a total DPS of 4.99. The level 3 upgrade costs 3,200 cash. The Mortar now deals 50 splash damage, has an explosion range of 28, a range of 28, and a total DPS of 12.48. The level 4 upgrade costs 9,500 cash. It deals 100 splash damage, fires every 3.508 seconds, has a range of 30, and a total DPS of 28.51. The level 5 upgrade costs 23,000 cash. It deals 175 splash damage, has an explosion range of 40, a range of 35, and a total DPS of 49.89. Now listen, I know 49.89 DPS for a total of 38,600 cash sounds really bad, but remember, the Mortar deals splash damage. It is by far the biggest explosion range in the game, meaning that it's hitting a lot of enemies at once. Because of how huge this explosion is, it's really hard to calculate its average DPS. The amount of enemies it hits can vary by a lot. However, I think a pretty safe estimate will be at least 6 enemies per hit. It could definitely hit a lot more though, especially on the later waves. If we assume the Mortar is hitting at least 6 enemies per hit, it has a total DPS of 299.34. That's a lot. I mean, that's more than the Accelerator, which is known for its DPS. Obviously, it wouldn't be fair if we didn't do the same for the Rocketeer. Because it has a much smaller explosion radius, I'm only going to say it hits 2 enemies on average. That gives the Rocketeer a total DPS of 128.28. So, the Mortar has a higher potential DPS. Does that mean that the Mortar is better? Well, there's a few more things to consider. The Rocketeer is a more balanced tower. It has decent crowd control, decent single target damage, and good range. Even though the Rocketeer is pretty mediocre in all of its stats, it can handle a lot of things. It has hidden detection, can damage leads, can chip down crowds, and handle pretty strong bosses. It's also a ground tower, which means it has a lot more spots it can be placed on. These traits make the Rocketeer a very versatile tower. It's pretty much a jack of all trades. The Mortar, however, has the best crowd control in the game. Its ridiculously huge explosions are really unmatched by any other tower. It's also a cliff tower, which means it's immune to stuns. That does also make it a lot harder to find an open spot for it, and it takes up space that could be used for rangers. The Mortar is also a highly specialized tower. It's pretty much only good at dealing with crowds. Its single target DPS is horrible considering its insane price, making it a bad choice for dealing with threats like the tank or the Wave 40 boss. So, which tower is the best? Well, the Rocketeer is really good and very versatile. I just can't find a scenario where it's the best option. There's so many towers that do what it does, so it ends up being heavily outclassed. If you're looking for a high DPS tower, use the Accelerator or the Engineer. If you're looking for splash damage, then, well, use the Mortar. The Mortar is by far the best crowd control tower in the game, so there really isn't a tower that can replace it. I mean, just look at how much damage it did in a single game. Because you can use 5 towers in a game, Bringing multiple towers that excel at different things is usually the best choice, as it allows them to complement each other and deal with any issue with ease. A balanced tower such as the Rocketeer just ends up being overshadowed. Sure, it might perform well, but it won't ever be the best at something. And because of that, I'm gonna say the Mortar is the better tower. Before I end the video, I just have a quick tip to give to you guys. One thing you might notice about the Mortar is when it's targeting a set to first, it shoots just in front of the first enemy, which means it's not taking advantage of the splash damage. Where you really want it to shoot is right in the middle of the enemies, so it gets all of the zombies at once. A way I found to do this is by setting it to random. It'll have a higher chance of attacking crowds as there'll be more zombies in there that it will randomly select. That means that overall, the Mortar will be more effective at clearing crowds and be a lot more useful of a tower. This video took a lot of time to make, so if you enjoyed, please hit that like button and subscribe to join the Blue Hair Mafia. I'll see you on the next video.